You're listening to Little Rockers Radio. Thanks for joining us. In the news late last month was the story on Heinz healthy toddler foods. One of their products, Heinz Little Kids, advertised as being 99% fruit and veg, actually contains over 60% sugar, and it really isn't a healthy option for children. To chat about this more, we're today talking to Monica Meldrum. Monica is the founder of Whole Kids, who create organic and healthy kids snacks. Hi Monica, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, Sarah. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you. I'm really keen to know what your thoughts were when this story broke.
Well, it was actually really interesting because we've been seeing a lot of this from the start when we created our business. We set up Whole Kids because I could see there was a lot of misleading health claims out there in the market. Companies were highly processing products and a lot of them contained additives, with words I couldn't even pronounce. And they were being marketed as healthy or good for your child's development or nutrition. And I think it's a great thing because I think it just shows big companies that, it's really important that they are transparent and honest in their labelling, because as a time-poor parent myself, often I find I'll pick something up off the supermarket shelf and then get it home and look at the ingredient list and there's things in it that I wasn't aware of. So I think it's a really important move forward, and it's just a message really to big companies that it's time to really clean products up.
It's so surprising though, isn't it? Because you think that when it comes to our children that there wouldn't, these sorts of things wouldn't be allowed to happen. And I believe that the food regulations for newborns up until about 12 months are quite tight, as they obviously should be. However, after 12 months, they're open to interpretation, aren't they? So what does this mean for Australian families?
Yeah, so I think up until 12 months, there's really tight food standards around what additives can be included in products. But then beyond that, basically it's open slather. So one of the things our business is doing is really trying to lobby for regulation around the use of food additives below the age of 6 years, because I think it's a really important time for kids developmentally. And so it just means that products that are on the shelf for sort of 12 months plus can contain all sorts of things that, all sorts of additives. And it just means to parents that they really need to be conscious of looking at labels and just understanding what's in food.
And there's a growing amount of research also that shows how the additives can have negative effects on children and all of those sorts of things. Give us an example of some everyday foods that we may be feeding our families where the ingredients don't actually need to even go on the ingredient listing.
Yeah, well, I think it's just important to look at things like natural flavours, natural colours, or flavours and colours and numbers. You really don't know what's in those products, so I think steering away from them is the best option. And I just think too, a lot of them don't necessarily need to contain those things. So, with our products, for example, we do some little sultanas and apricots, and we don't use any sulfites. And sulfites are used basically to bring out the orange colour in apricots. So with our product, you'll see that they look almost like sultanas because we don't use the sulfites. And it's important not to, because they've been linked to things like respiratory issues in children and asthma.
And the taste, the taste of anything is better, but it just looks different in colour.
That's right. And a lot of these products are used either to enhance the taste or improve shelf life or to extend, I guess, the product, to cheapen the product. So things like thickeners and fillers are often used because it means that there's less of the natural ingredient in the product, and the product can sit on shelf for a cheaper price. So I'd just be really wary about, people educating themselves about ingredients and what's actually in the foods that they're looking at, and the claims as well.
And it's good to start educating your children as well. We have a bit of a rule of thumb in the household that if there's any more than 4 or 5 ingredients on a packet, it's probably not worth buying. And if we see numbers or anything like that, then it's not worth buying either. And it just sort of starts to get them thinking about what are healthy food options and what are not so much healthy food options as well.
Yeah, that's right. And we do a lot of work with schools, and we find that kids really from a young age, they get concepts of health and looking at ingredient listings and understanding something's got too much sugar or too much salt. And we actually had a really funny experience with a school we went to. We were asked to supply our products, but they would only be accepted if the kids approved them. And so we had to pitch them to the kids that were all primary school age, so from prep right through to grade 4, I think it was. And we were blown away by the amount of knowledge that they had. They understood concepts of organic, and one little boy wanted to know if our sultanas were dried naturally or under factory lights. And, you know, it was so insightful. So I think schools are doing some great work with kids in teaching them about nutritionals and to read products, and that's a really important thing too. And also just understanding the difference between sometimes foods and everyday foods.
That's an ongoing topic of education in our household. Now, you mentioned the sultanas and the sulfites, which then is obviously not necessarily mentioned on the ingredients list. Is this something that's common in most countries? Is Australia falling behind other countries when it comes to ingredients listings and what companies can and can't label on their products?
Yeah, I think in terms of, so with sulfites there's a number that's used, so at 220, so people don't necessarily know what that number means, but there are colours and certain additives that are banned in other countries, and Australia is a little behind when it comes to all of that.
Now, you started Whole Kids over 10 years ago. I think we started buying your products from our local organic shop probably 8 or 9 years ago when my son was about 1. And I imagine that that Whole Kids in general was a breath of fresh air to many consumers. How were you perceived by industry?
Well, with consumers, they were so pleased to see our products, and we work really directly and really closely with our customers. So we do a lot of focus groups with parents and with kids to make sure the products taste good and they meet their taste profiles. But we had our first sort of run-in, I guess, with the food industry very early on when I was quoted in the newspaper as saying that sulfites were linked to respiratory problems in children. And I had a call from the managing director of one of the biggest fruit companies in Australia threatening legal action. So at the time for us, I was really taken aback by that, and I didn't know how to respond. But then I thought about it, and I thought if this CEO could look down the phone and just see our business and, you know, us at the end of our little phone fax in our room in our rented house in Richmond, then, he probably wouldn't have bothered making the call. But he really did think that we were such a threat. And I think at that point for me, I realised that Whole Kids could really be an agent for change, and we could stand up for more than just being a food company, but for kids' health and creating happy, healthy lives for kids, which is something that our business does. We now donate a percentage of total sales revenue, regardless of profit, to kids' health and environmental projects. And we're campaigning really strongly for unjunking kids' lives and banning junk food advertising to children before 9 p.m. and banning the use of additives. And we're really trying to rally support from all of our customers to get behind some of these programs.
Yeah, and I imagine that they would be, because all of the programs that you run are fabulous programs. Tell us a little bit in general about Whole Kids and where people can find your range.
Yeah, so we have a range of 36 products and they're all certified organic and additive-free, and we also have allergen-friendly options as well that are nut, dairy, gluten-free. We're in pretty much most of the organic and health food stores throughout Australia, and we do have a range in Coles as well. So, but other than that, we have a sample pack online, so if people wanted to try our range, they can go online, and we have a small pack that we can send out to them to trial the product.
Right, okay. And they can visit the Whole Kids website to find out more, and obviously for that sample pack as well, which is at wholekids.com.au. And
that's correct.
The links are also on our site, linking through our site to littlerockersradio.com.au. Thanks for joining us today, Monica.
Thanks so much, Sarah. It's been great to chat with you.
Great to chat to you too. That was Monica Meldrum from Whole Kids talking about food labelling, marketing to our children, and what we're feeding our children, which is a very interesting topic. Thanks very much for listening to Little Rockers Radio.